downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Podcast. And here
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Happy Friday and welcome to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann in for Nick Monticelli. We're streaming live here on Local 4 Plus and YouTube to bring you the important news of the day and conversations with people making the news. If you need to get out the door, just take us with us. Take us with you with Click on Detroit app. You can listen to us in your car just like a podcast. Here's what we're working on today. It is calm now, but Metro Detroit does have a chance for severe weather. Ashley is tracking when those storm clouds are going to roll in. Ashley, even on my drive in, it was pretty tense out there with all of those low-lying clouds. Plus, in protecting your information, after two major data breaches, we're having a conversation with a cybersecurity expert on what to do if your information is stolen. I spoke with him just a few weeks ago on another massive data breach. He's got some great insight there. And it's an important milestone for one iconic Detroit park. We're talking about 3 days of fun as Rouge Park celebrates 100 years. And if you're getting ready to head out today, we are keeping an eye on a story that we've been following all morning that may impact your drive into work. The Lodge Freeway is closed at Howard in downtown Detroit because of flooding. A leaking fire hydrant in front of Huntington Place may be the cause. We don't know when this will be cleaned up. And Darnell Blackburn is here to help us get around that closure. Darnell, that's a pretty unfortunate mess to deal with.
It is pretty unfortunate, especially for people coming into downtown. So southbound Lodge at Howard Street, it is open there. That ramp is open, but it's closed afterward. So right now, we haven't seen a lot of heavy traffic volume, so you can exit at Howard still. It's looking pretty good. I think Friday's a good culprit for our lighter traffic volumes and made it better. But that downtown area, if you are downtown and you're on Jefferson and you're headed westbound to get onto the Lodge, then you may want to go to Washington Boulevard, take that over to Congress, and you can get on. But that whole flooded area is a mess. It's a mess right now.
How often have you seen, I know we've talked about localized flooding, but like after heavy rain, there's some weather event that contributes. How often has it been due to a fire hydrant?
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often. Yeah. And we don't know for sure. We we think or surmise that it may play a part, but it was pretty odd. Actually, I can say yesterday I was downtown about 5, 6 yesterday evening in the same area, and it was they had closed the lodge in that area, southbound at Howard Street, right after Howard was closed. So I saw a lot of police emergency vehicles on scene yesterday. So I don't know if that was the culprit then or what, but it's pretty bad.
And it's such a tough spot too. Like that's a major artery into the downtown area. So to have that closed off for folks who are coming in with so many events happening downtown, that's a tough closure.
Yeah, they got to get the wet back out real quick. They got to get on that, man, and get it cleared out for the weekend because a lot of businesses are depending on this, for the money and everything else. So it's pretty impactful. But good news is again for people coming into southbound, it's been pretty light traffic volumes for the most part for Friday. So it's worked out pretty good.
Well, thank you so much, DB. Always putting a positive spin on things. We appreciate it.
I appreciate hanging with you.
Well, we do have more news to get to, including the weather. You know, Darnell was talking about that possible water main break or the fire hydrant playing a role, but we're also talking about storm chances, which could put even more rain into our forecast. Hey, Ash, how's it looking out there?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to see out there. We have so much moisture, these low-lying clouds reducing visibility a bit, and that is a perfect illustration of the humidity as well. You're going to feel the moisture in the air early this morning. And so, yeah, definitely kind of concerned about the fact that we have the threat for heavy downpours today if they can't clear out what's already standing on the lodge this morning as far as that commute goes. But 71 degrees in the city, 74 in Ann Arbor, 73 in Pontiac, and 77 in Monroe. We have a southeasterly wind at about 3 to 10 miles per hour, and that'll continue to pump in some warmth today before the cold front comes in. So let's check in with our visibility map. We're down to 1 mile in the city, 2 miles in Pontiac, and 3 at Metro Airport. So we're not tracking dense fog, but certainly noticeable that it is soupy out there, hazy. Warm front has already pushed through the region. Now we're just tracking this very slow-moving cold front. It'll take some time to cross Lake Michigan and work its way here into southeastern Michigan, but that's going to be what will trigger the possibility of strong to severe storms. You'll likely start to see more development ahead of that front as the day progresses, as we get warmer and that colder air clashes with the heat and humidity. So forecasted high temperatures today around 90, although if we hold on to those low-lying clouds, the temperatures could be struggling. We haven't seen much rise in those temperatures through the morning, but as it stands right now, still forecasting about 90 for the afternoon high. Storm threats, well, level 2 risk with damaging wind gusts the primary threat. We're going to walk you through the timeline in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Ashley. And this morning, a former gas station clerk convicted of shooting and killing a man will learn just how long he'll spend in prison. Detroit police say it all started when the clerk, Mohammed Al-Gaham, got into an argument with Anthony McNary over beef jerky. We do want to get out to Shantae Passmore, who's live with what's changed since that deadly encounter.
Hey, good morning, Priya, to you and everyone back at home. So this morning here in Southwest Detroit, this mobile gas station business is back to normal. But 2 years ago, that wasn't the case. It was a hotbed of frustration and anger for the community. A lot of people raising concerns after a clerk shot an unarmed man behind locked doors. And not only did everyday people ask the question, was it necessary, but so did the Wayne County prosecutor and a judge. In just a few short hours, Mohammed Al-Gaham will learn his fate after being convicted of second-degree murder by a jury. The deadly gas station shooting happened back in June 2023. Surveillance video shows the moments leading up to the shooting. You can hear McNary loitering outside the gas station before approaching the door at least once. At one point, Al-Gaham is seen raising a gun up to the window and shooting McNary in the head, killing him. And the sentencing hearing is set for 9 a.m. this morning. Local 4 will have a crew inside the courtroom to bring you the outcome of what happens there. Meanwhile, the city of Detroit did pass an ordinance banning employees from locking people inside the gas station after seeing back-to-back shootings involving clerks. We're in Southwest Detroit this morning. I'm Shantae Passmore, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Shantae. And this morning, we want to talk about keeping your information secure online. It seems like everything we do is linked to the internet, how we pay our bills, communicate with others, and even get information on our health. But just this week, we got word of 2 massive data breaches, and we'll start here locally with McLaren Health. They say hackers stole the personal information of nearly 750,000 people in a ransomware attack, and that includes social security numbers, health insurance information, driver's license details, and medical data. It happened between July and August of 2024 and impacts McLaren patients and patients at Carmano Center, the Cancer Institute. They're asking people to keep an eye on their accounts for any odd activity. Also this week, insurance company Aflac announced a data breach involving customer information. Aflac says a cybercrime group gained access to its network. Health information, again, social security numbers, and more may have been accessed. Aflac says the review is in the early stages, and they're trying to figure out just how many people are impacted. And joining us now to talk more about the best ways to protect yourself is Matt Loria, the CEO of Oxium, an IT and cybersecurity company. Matt, we were just talking a few days ago. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning. It sure seems to be a repeated issue that we're all dealing with.
Yeah, these ones seem particularly concerning, especially when you consider social security numbers, health information getting out there. What was your first thought when you heard about these 2 massive breaches?
These two are a little bit more common in comparison to the last one that we talked about, but still very concerning. I mean, this is people's personal information out there, their medical information, all sorts of identifying factors that could be used, in other nefarious ways. So whether that's opening up a credit card or filing a tax return on a person's behalf fraudulently, all this sort of information can just be used in so many terrible ways.
At this point, I feel like a lot of people, their eyes just kind of glaze over when they hear about another data breach. What is at stake here when it comes to what we can do to try to even protect ourselves? You trust these companies, and then your information is out there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you're not going to stop going to the hospital or
Right.
not stop getting insurance. So you have to use these companies, and you have to trust that they're doing something. Unfortunately, in the United States, our laws just aren't as tough as they are in Europe as it relates to privacy protection. So while they're doing a great job, for our country or in our country, they're still not doing as good of a job as that they could be doing,
Right.
compared to how the rest of the world handles this.
So what can we do? What can the regular person do? I mean, as you mentioned, you still have to go to the doctor, or you still need to get a checkup. What do you do in that case? You have to hand over your info.
Sure. Yeah. There's no question that you have to give that information up. But what you can do is some things behind the scenes. You certainly can have your credit frozen, which you can contact all the
Yeah.
credit reporting agencies and request that. And that's one of the best ways to stop new accounts being opened up in your name. And so, I would highly recommend that. Would you like me to kind of go through my top 5 list that I like to give everybody?
I do want to hold on to that list because we're going to continue this conversation after the break. We also want to talk about that massive password breach that affected Apple and Facebook and Google. So we have a lot of information to get to, but this is sort of the tip of the iceberg. I think the number one takeaway here is maybe, freeze some of your accounts so that hackers can't access them once they've already have information like your social security number. Matt, we're going to check in with you in just a moment. We'll be right back after the break.
Okay, great.
Well, we are back now with Matt Loria, the CEO of Oxium, an IT and cybersecurity company. Matt, you were talking about some of your top 5 tips. Why don't we go through that list when it comes to protecting yourself?
Sure. Well, I kind of gave you a teaser before the break there, but freezing your credit report is certainly one of the top things that you can do because it stops new accounts from being opened in your name without you getting contacted separately. Number 2 is to use strong passwords, and what I mean by that is not just a strong password, meaning that it's long and complicated, but that you also cannot reuse the same password anywhere, please. That is one of the major ways that these bad guys take advantage of you, especially when they're able to steal a password or crack a password on one account. They know human behavior. They know that you're going to use that same password elsewhere. So your dog's name 123, I promise, is not as safe as you think.
How about dog's name 456? No, I'm kidding.
You could probably try that. You'll probably really trick them with that one.
Okay, so those are the top two. What else do you recommend?
Well, and within that top two, I would say we're also using multi-factor authentication.
Right,
So that's that annoying thing where they ask you to give you your cell phone number or to send you a text or use a separate application to enter information separately that they then text you. So that's something you have, which is a password, or something you know, which is your password, and something you have or get, which is that second factor authenticator. That is one of the best ways to prevent cybercrime. Unfortunately, the bad guys still know ways around that too, but you have to use it. Number three is all of these breaches. One of the rules that the government has in place when these breaches happen is that the company who has been breached has to supply identity monitoring services for the parties that have been affected. And so definitely sign up for that. Especially if you've been a part of one of the breaches, that is definitely one of the most overlooked things that people get in the mail. Is they get this letter, whether it's or from McLaren or whoever, and they ignore it. Enroll in that. That definitely helps. And what you can also do is keep an eye on the fact that you may have discounted offerings for that as well. Like I know our benefits plan offers a discount to a system called LifeLock. So I enroll in that, and all of my family members are a part of that account. And anytime anything happens, whether you're cashing a check or anything that just looks like it could be a flag, I get an alert on my LifeLock email and through the app push that says, "Is this really you?" And so it's a really cool system that does work and can at least stop the spread of something happening. So even though the bad guy might get through it, but you get alerted, then you can do something about it. And you can contact the different ways to deal with that. Number four is keep your software updated and your data backed up. So again, I know these things are annoying, right? When the Windows alert pops up and says, "Hey,"
and it always comes at the worst time. You're just like, I have to update it now.
For sure. And yes, you do, unfortunately, because that's where the security updates are really housed. And so bad guy is learning something, so they're finding a little hole. Good guy, maybe Microsoft says, okay, we're going to patch that hole. And you just have to be up to date on it, because they also know they thrive on the fact that not everyone is going to do that update, which means there's a hole in the system. So do that if you can afford to, and utilize a backup system like a Carbonite or some other backup system for just individuals. That would be highly recommended. For businesses, we have all sorts of systems that we use that are highly tuned for that, but I know that the consumer is not always thinking about that. So iCloud backup, Carbonite, any sorts of backups that you can be using just in case these guys get you.
Well, and there's one more. We're running out of time here. So what's the last one real quick?
Yep, I'll go really quick. Yep, number 5 is just be smart about what you click. Most of these hacks, they start with somebody just getting tricked. So think before you're clicking, think before you're sharing, think before you're answering a question from somebody that you don't know.
Well, great information there. Thanks, Matt. Lots to unpack, and hopefully we can do a little bit more to protect ourselves and companies as well. All right. Thank you so much. We'll be right back with a check of the weather next. Well, Ashley is joining us, and boy, what a busy week you have had, talking about the heat, the humidity, some records almost being broken in some cases.
Like, raise my white flag, like I'm done.
You're done. You're
I
done.
want to tap out. It's the weekend.
I gotta say though, when you were talking about that 10-degree difference, I was like, yeah, okay. No, you felt it. It felt so much better.
So much better. And we'll be back in the 80s tomorrow with lower humidity, which will be so much better.
So nice.
But today we're back into the 90s with that heat index, low 90s, and then feeling even warmer, like the mid 90s with the humidity that's going to build in. And so I want to start with the Rocket Classic, because I literally just got off the phone with Mark Hollis with Rocket, and they're like, okay, give us the timeline here. The golfers will be off the course at 6. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a tight one today, because they did have to play through rain yesterday.
Right.
And so here we go again. It will be towards the end, if at all, for this round of golf for today. It's going to be a little bit later compared to the last couple days, and I'll tell you why that is, because we have kind of a different scenario setting up. But cooler, drier air mass for Saturday, still warm, but partly cloudy, not as humid. And then the heat index is going to rise on Sunday as that humidity rises along with those temperatures. So it's going to be a hot final round over at the Detroit Golf Club. But for today, still forecasting 90. But here's the deal. We have those low-lying clouds. If those are going to be really pesky to break and give way to sun, then we're gonna have to lower these high temperatures today. But right now, we do anticipate to push some of this out of here and have that burn off, and that will allow those temperatures to rise, given that we're in the wake of the warm front. So right now, 75 over at Metro Airport. Cold front off to our west will be what triggers the storms this afternoon. That's a different setup than the last couple days where we had the stalled out boundary. So if you remember, I was talking about it being kind of like a train track, and those showers were just riding along that train track. Now, this would be more of a line that we're focusing. So not stuff that bubbles up along the track, but literally will push with that line across Lake Michigan and into our neighborhood. So different scenario and slightly different timing. We will be into the 80s, if not 90, and after 4 o'clock is the best chance of seeing some strong to severe storms. So 4 to 9, but I have to stress, that doesn't mean you're not going to see a rain shower develop before then. We have all of that humidity out there, so you could see something develop, but rather the severe line, which might get a little broken as it pushes in, will be 4 o'clock onward. Gusty winds will be the primary threat, and some heavy downpours that leads to flooding. Not timing out great for the Tigers game, given that's a 7:10 first pitch. Now, fingers crossed, this kind of dances around Detroit, that we don't worry about it for Comerica Park or the Detroit Golf Club, but we have to be prepared. So if you have tickets to tonight's game, keep checking to see if there's any kind of rain delay. And I'll show you why with the timing here. Preceding that front, we start to see some of those storms firing off around 4 o'clock in our west and northwestern suburbs. This becomes a bit more robust around 6, 7, but now as we stop the clock at about 10, it's out of here. So that's that window. 4 to 9 is when we have the chance for some of those storms to ride along that front as it pushes eastward. They'll move west-east at about 35 miles per hour, so they're not snail's pace, but they're also not super quick moving. We will be drier on Saturday. Warm front lifts on Sunday, and that will usher in the warmer air. So your weekend forecast, summer heat's here. Great weekend to hit the pool, hit the lake, because we're not looking at rain chances, and those water temperatures are on the rise, especially for folks that hit Lake Erie down off of Monroe County. I mean, mid 70s, that's pretty pleasant. 90-degree day, mid 70s, that's refreshing.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, we will be right around 90 Sunday, close to it on Monday, but we're just below that threshold when it comes to heat advisories.
And at least look at those overnight lows.
Much better. And that's so important to point out, Priya, because that stretch that we were in where we had the 4 90-degree days, those overnight lows weren't getting below like the mid 70s. So you couldn't open up the windows and cool off. So yeah, that's really great to point that out.
All right. Thank you, Ash. Well, a Metro Detroit tradition is for some happening today on the water. We're taking a live look at Lake St. Clair, where boaters across the Metro are getting ready for Jobby Nooner. But this year, a stern warning for those heading to Gull Island. We'll have that coming up. Welcome back. I'm Priya Mann with a Local 4 News update. In less than 5 minutes, a teen girl charged with killing 2 people outside an East Point Foot Locker will face a judge. 19-year-old Lakyla Taylor is accused of shooting the victims in the parking lot. This happened back in May. According to the Macomb County prosecutor, it started when Taylor and her brother got into a fight with another group. A judge will decide if there's enough evidence to go to trial. And if you're watching us on the TV side, turn on over to Local 4 or click on Detroit.com for a Local 4 update. Coming up, we're talking about an important milestone for the iconic Rouge Park, plus an annual tradition for some, getting a stern warning from Canada. And at 9, the decision made over a nuclear waste site. Ashley is back with a look at your full forecast in just a few moments. Keep it here.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Welcome back to Local 4 Live, streaming here on Local 4 Plus. I'm Priya Mann, and we have a lot to get to on our next half hour. We do want to start with a bit of a traffic alert. The Lodge Freeway is closed at Howard in downtown Detroit because of flooding. A leaking fire hydrant in front of Huntington Place may be the cause. No word on when this might be cleaned up and reopened. And turning our attention to the weather right now, you can feel the humidity when you walk out the door. But the other thing you notice are those low-lying clouds.
I know. It's just not the most beautiful morning, humidity-wise. And then with the heat and humidity, the clashing with a cold front later today, we're talking once again the potential for strong storms to develop. But there's a picture for you, kind of Gotham-esque this morning in Detroit, where we do have the lower visibility. 71 degrees in the city, 74 in Ann Arbor, and 73 in Pontiac, Monroe in the upper 70s. And so will continue to rise just because of that warm front. Now, if we get more sunshine breaking through some of those really pesky low-lying clouds, and then we'll see a bigger warm up, but visibility down to 1 mile. Well, actually, I should say we have improvement now. It was down to 1 mile in the city now, looking at that map, 2 mile visibility in Mount Clemens and at City Airport. So satellite and radar showing the bulk of the rain is to our north. That's with the more potent low pressure system. But as we zoom into the map here, we do have a little drier spell that we're stuck in. But as a cold front crosses Lake Michigan through through the morning and eventually making its way here into the afternoon. We'll start to see likely some storms fire off. Still forecasting 90 for the afternoon high. This is kind of one of those days where it could be a boom or bust, because if we have that cloud cover for a while, we might struggle to get to 90. But if we do hit 90, tell you, it's going to feel more like 96 because of the humidity that's out there. So it'll be a warm one. We do have a chance for severe weather. In fact, that slight level 2 risk that you see shaded in yellow on the map, that's a heightened risk from the last few days. And the last few days, we've had severe thunderstorms roll through. And so there's a good chance we could see a line of storms that create straight line winds that would be potentially damaging, and then some heavy downpours. You see all that moisture in the atmosphere. Eventually, that makes it to the surface, right? So we could end up with some flooding as we look ahead to the afternoon. Forecast planner, so we'll be in the upper 80s, right around 90, with those afternoon storm chances, especially 4 o'clock onward. And so we'll dive into the model data with that and give you a better look and beyond, because then we're turning the corner into the weekend, and then we have, you know, the 4th of July holiday too next week.
It's just so busy. One thing after another.
I know.
Most importantly, when I go for my run today, it should be before 4 p.m. then? You think even earlier?
I would, well, I mean, in the city, I think you're okay, right around 4.
Okay.
But our western suburbs, you would absolutely want to be out
Okay.
there before 4 o'clock, because that 4 o'clock time frame is when you start to see that firing off from west to east. It's going to move at about 35 miles per hour.
Oh.
So it'll be moving along.
Yeah.
It's not going to stall out over us, but it's not going to be super quick, like a 70 mile per hour, you know, storm rolling through. So
Okay.
just, you know, yeah, be smart about it. I know you're smart. You know?
Well, that's why I check in with you. I have
know.
texted her on weekends to be like, Ashley, what would you recommend I do for this? So thanks so much.
You're welcome. I'll see you in a bit.
Well, happening today, Joby Nuda returns to Gull Island on Lake St. Clair today. Many may be out in inner tubes relaxing, and a slight breeze could push you right into Canada. U.S. Border Patrol requires boaters to report their arrival using the free CBP Roam mobile app available from the App Store and Google Play. You can also contact the nearest CBP office to your point of entry by phone. Failure to do so, by the way, could lead to seizure of your boat and potential prosecution. The annual event was started the last Friday of June in 1974 by a group of auto workers who called themselves Jobbies, while a lesser-known Joby Nooner 2 happens the first Saturday after Labor Day. Nice to see that tradition still holding on strong. Also happening over on Capitol Hill, the big, beautiful bill is delayed in the Senate. GOP leaders are holding on to hope the Senate can make edits and pass it this weekend. Some of the Medicaid cuts proposed in the bill are off the table, but some lawmakers say it is just not enough.
This would be a chance to fix it. I mean, this would be a chance for leadership to fix it and actually do something right here that's not going to hurt rural hospitals.
It is morally bankrupt to ask working and middle Americans to bankroll tax breaks for billionaires at a time they're struggling to pay for groceries and rent.
After the Senate passes the bill, it still needs to go back to the House. President Trump is still pushing to have it on his desk by the 4th of July, which, by the way, is 1 week away. And taking a live look at the stock futures board this morning, investors heading into the week's final trading day on the tailwind of Thursday's strong close. It comes ahead of a data deluge, including inflation numbers, including consumer spending numbers. Right now, futures are showing a gain at the open. We will see what happens when the stock market opens at 9:30. An iconic park is celebrating a very important milestone. Next, we're talking with friends of Rouge Park about the 100-year celebration. We'll be right back. Well, if you didn't know, Michigan's largest urban park is celebrating a really big birthday. It's fitting when anything or anyone turns 100 to throw a big party, and that's what's happening in Detroit's Rouge Park this weekend. You're looking at video of the park from Drone 4. The park, by the way, was established in 1925 on Detroit's west side. It sits on nearly 1,200 acres, bordered by I-96 to the north and Warren Avenue to the south. There's a pool, golf course, hiking and mountain biking trails, and so much more. The celebration of this Detroit gem kicks off tonight, and here to tell us all about it is Lindsay Pilak, the executive director of Friends of Rouge Park. Thank you for joining us, Lindsay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's
First,
an honor.
You brought some swag.
Yes, of course. So this is our centennial logo in our T-shirt
Love
for
that.
the 100-year anniversary. So I wanted to give that to you. We're sharing these with our wonderful volunteers who are helping us out tonight, as well as our centennial members, who are folks who care as much about Rouge Park as we do and have donated $100 to support Friends of Rouge Park.
How
and
do you
keep the work going?
How do you wrap your mind around 100 years of history there?
Well, it's amazing. I'm new to the organization. I just started in January of this year. I'm their first
Okay.
executive director.
Oh, well, it just took 100 years. Now we got one. Yeah.
Yes, they would say that. There's a really dedicated group of folks who have been organizing in the park, started Friends of Rouge Park back in 2003, including Paul Stark, who's a historian of the park and has done an extensive history of the park. He's actually putting out a booklet today with the first draft of an amazing 100-year history of the park. And really, it is a truly wonderful story. 100 years ago, the Rouge Park sat outside of the city limits, but the city had the forethought to purchase this farmland, knowing that access to recreation was just so important for residents. So it used to be farmland as well as some original forest. Yes. So it was 5 miles outside of the city at the time.
Okay.
And then it was purchased for the park and was, an asset for many, many years. Hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Right? Where, old ice skating rink and all sorts of things that people have enjoyed for decades.
Also really interesting to think about, some people don't realize just how big the city of Detroit is, like the borders. So to think 100 years ago, they were still expanding.
Yes.
They're like, no, we want this as part of it too.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, right, as we think about what is the importance of Rouge Park.
Yeah.
I think some people in the city of Detroit don't even know Rouge Park exists, right?
Right.
It's a 1,200-acre park, which is huge. Wow. It's massive, right? And there's such wonderful opportunities for recreation and connection to nature.
Yeah, like mountain biking? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yes. So there's a 3-mile mountain bike track. There's 4 miles of trails in the park, a ton of walking paths and pathways. Great 5K running trail, apparently. We need to get the runners
very interested.
More out there. And of course, some people don't know about Rouge Park, but a lot of folks do. It's home and memories for so many Detroiters. And any day you go out there on a beautiful day, it is packed. You'll see the folks just out there enjoying the park, which is what we want in our public spaces.
Well, see, Detroiters know where all the gems are.
Yes.
We just like to, keep it for ourselves because it's such a beautiful thing to experience. When it comes to celebrations and what folks can expect, 100 years, it's a big deal.
Yes. So we have a 3-day celebration this evening. We're kicking off with the Summer Music Series, which is presented by the city of Detroit. And so that'll be jazz this evening, some wonderful artists, and then continuing on Saturday and Sunday with a lot of great music. There's also going to be a carnival there's a carnival resource area with a lot of vendors, community organizations, as well as food trucks. And so we're just, and then, and of course, activations of our park partners. So we're looking forward to highlighting folks that work in the park, like Detroit Outdoors, Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, the Buffalo Soldiers, right? So there's so many groups that are in the park that we get the honor to partner with. And so when people come to the celebration, we want them to enjoy themselves, but we also want them leaving knowing about all the wonderful things that they can plug into in the park.
What I really love is that 100 years ago, they had the vision that park space is important to our everyday life. And now 100 years later, we're continuing that legacy. Because sometimes with, the concrete jungles of cities as they expand, we lose sight that we do need that nature. We need to hear the birds and be able to walk around in a forest, if you will, have some trails. Those are all vitally important.
Indeed. And I think this moment in time, it's really really great how much investment is being placed in the city, both from the City of Detroit, the General Services Department, which we work closely with, Crystal Perkins and her team, to our philanthropic partners, the Gilbert Family Foundation, Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan. There's really a lot of recognition and partnership and looking at like how do we invest in these spaces really for that purpose. And so we're honored to be at the center of that at Rouge Park as the as the park partner to the city, really trying to make Rouge Park what it can be. And it's amazing. There's so many assets, and it needs a lot of work. There's so many challenges with the park that really need to be addressed.
Well, when you're talking about a size of,
yes.
That's a huge area of land to have to maintain.
Yes, it is. And so I think, again, I started in January, and it's been a fast train towards this 100-year celebration.
Well, you've had 6 months, so what's been going on?
But, I really think the opportunity here is to really look at what exists now and make sure people are aware of it. And right now, get more families, more Detroiters out there to take care of Rouge Park, and then also to leverage where do we want to go. So the city's going to be doing a master plan this year, which is when the city does the master plan, it's a 10-year plan of what we want to see in the park.
Yeah.
And so we really want to use that opportunity to get as many residents and stakeholders out to say, what do you want in this park? And then to leverage all of our partnerships to really make that happen, right? And we want improvements that are going to be in the lifetime of your children, and also improvements that are going to deal with the massive issues of stormwater, overflow, and the flooding, and the lack of infrastructure. We have all of these trails, but we also need improvements for all of them. So,
well, like any big project, there's still more work to be done, but there's still a lot to celebrate as well, which
so
we'll kick off with this 3-day celebration. Lindsay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been a privilege.
Well, we do want to take a live look at downtown Detroit. Ashley is back with a check of your full forecast and the possibility of severe weather. Just look at those low-lying clouds there. Kind of looks like Gotham City. We'll be right back. Well, getting a live look of the Detroit skyline this morning. Wow, you can't even see the tops of the RenCen or the buildings downtown. This live shot courtesy of our friends over in Windsor. It's a little ho-hum and gloomy right now, but severe weather is on the horizon. The good news is those really oppressive temps that we've been talking about for the last couple of days, well, they seem to be on the way out, even though we've got some 90s still in the forecast, but maybe with just a drop in the humidity, things will be a little bit more pleasant if we're heading out there. But that live shot says it all, right? And that face.
It's not very scientific.
It is. There we go. Back to you.
So yeah, it's going to be a hot and humid one today, not to the extreme.
Thank goodness.
That we had, where we had the 4-day stretch of the 90s. We hit 95 twice in that, that stretch. So we're going to be flirting with 90 today, and it will be humid. But I'll tell you what, Saturday's the pick day of the weekend. As slightly cooler air builds in, and it'll be a drier air mass. So melting meter, I want to start there because it's going to be ice cream type of weather. However, you need to eat it quickly in these type of temperatures, so you don't want it to melt, as we will be tracking those potential 90s today. Even if we don't hit the 90s, like you can see along in north of M59 forecasting 80s today, still probably going to feel like we get into that 90-degree territory just because of the humidity, and it'll just be oppressive. So temperatures right now in the 70s. If you are an outdoor runner, maybe not even worrying about the rain as much as just how humid it is.
I was worried about that too a little.
Treadmill inside kind of day. I don't know. Do you do the treadmill?
I don't really like the treadmill.
Yeah.
Is it going to be that, like, is it a breathing thing? Is that the
for me,
concern?
I feel like when the air's that thick, it's harder to breathe. I mean, we're not talking
It
about air
is.
quality issues
Right.
like the smoke,
Right.
but it definitely is thick air to be breathing in.
Maybe
But
I'll do
to
a
each
shorter
their own.
run. Maybe I won't do a 10K. I'll talk to my coach.
I'm not going to do a 10K.
It's the only way I keep my mental health in check, Ashley, okay?
You just say so nonchalant. Like, I mean,
I've worked my way up to it.
I do 2 laps. I'm like, I know. I need to work my way up.
You want to join me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get her out there.
Yeah, I run after my kids enough.
Well, there you go.
I know.
I bet we get the same amount of steps.
Yeah, mine are just little sprints all the time. And the dog, running after the dog.
Right.
She's just as bad. Yeah, temperatures right now are in the 70s, and so it'll be upward from here. So that warm front is lifted. We're dealing with the humidity behind that. Cold front just now starting to cross the northern tier of Lake Michigan. So that's been a slow-moving front, but we will be in the 80s today, if not 90, and those storm chances increasing right around 4 o'clock. So slight level 2 chance on a 5-level scale for severe weather. Kind of broken down those threats for you, where wind gusts of 60 miles per hour would be the primary threat. Very low-end threat for hail or any kind of rotation, though you can't completely rule it out, but it's a very low-end chance. Now, much better chance for flooding because you'll see some heavy downpours. You already can visually see the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. So the severe risk, 4 to 9 p.m. So that covers the Detroit Tigers game. If you're heading out to Comerica Park, there is the chance of there being a rain delay, if not a postponement. And so that will impact the Tigers game probably more so than the Rocket Classic, because golfers should be getting off the course at 6, and it's going to be a tight one. I've stopped the clock here at 4:30, our western suburbs and to our north and thumb getting that line of storms, and then that will push east. A little more robust around 6 or 7, but then by the time we get to 10, you might have a little bit of lingering rain, but the severe threat has lifted at that point, and then we dry things out going into Saturday. Saturday night, Sunday morning, warm front lifts across the region, and that's going to bring us some warmer air. So Saturday, in my eyes, it would be the pick day because it's not as humid and it's 84, so you still get outside and enjoy summer-like activities. Now the heat's getting to be a little bit more oppressive on Sunday as we're at 90 and probably feeling more like 95 with the heat index. But that heat wave certainly helping with the lake temperatures, and yesterday we were talking more about it as well, that the heat capacity for water is different than air. So there's a seasonal lag in the warm-up of the Great Lakes. So even though the daylight's getting shorter, it's going to be a while for these lake temperatures to continue to warm up. So we have that ahead of us, that they're just going to continuously warm throughout the summer season before getting cooler. So that's going in the right direction. You want those temperatures to go upward. And so you kind of see the benefits of that several days, if not weeks after these really warm temperatures. But otherwise, seasonal mid-80s working their way in next week with some sunshine. But I do have to point out, Monday there's another cold front, so that could bring some more storm chances come Monday.
But even with that cold front, we're still in the 80s, so.
Right. I mean, it's just taking us from about 90 to 85.
At that point, I think we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
I'm just at the point, I'm not going to complain about the temperatures. I just don't want the humidity around here. I want it dry.
I'm going to hold you to this.
Yeah,
I'm going to see. I love Ash.
Girl.
Yeah. All right, girl. Thank you so much.
Let us do this
No,
together.
we shouldn't. No. You should just hear us all the time.
I know.
All right. Thanks, Ash. We will be watching for the humidity as well. Summer break should mean fun for kids, not hunger. But in Southeast Michigan, 1 in 5 don't know where their next meal is coming from, especially when they're not in school. That's why we're teaming up with Gleaners Community Food Bank in Taylor for our next Go For It campaign. Our Ty Steele has more on how you can help bridge the summer hunger gap.
From moving mountains of food to making food boxes like it's an Olympic sport.
Jill, coming at you.
Whoa. Longtime Gleaners volunteer Tom Rose is always ready to get the job done and train the new people. Not just because he enjoys the work, but because he believes in the cause.
They put out so much food, I could not believe it. The whole warehouse is just full of it. And every week, truckloads and truckloads.
All packed by this assembly line of volunteers at this Taylor warehouse. filling 1,296 boxes of food for families in need in just 3.5 hours. And the need for food and volunteers like Tom is growing. In 2022, just one partner agency of Gleaners, Fish and Loaves, distributed 2.3 million pounds of food to Western Wayne County. Just 2 years later, in 2024, that number jumped to 3.4 million pounds. Fish and Loaves in Taylor is just one of 350 partner agencies, giving out 120,000 meals a day across 5 counties in southeast Michigan.
It's life-saving. I do receive food stamps, but it's just not enough with the prices. The high prices, this is a blessing.
And the need always spikes in the summer.
Kids are home from school. They need extra breakfast and lunch.
Meals that wouldn't make it to the kids without the volunteers, says CEO Stephanie McNeese.
They help people shop. They bag all the groceries. They stock all the shelves. They unload and load trucks in the warehouse. Every facet of this organization is helped out by volunteers.
Thank you.
So if you're feeling inspired and want to make a difference, just listen to Tom.
If you're thinking about it, just go ahead and pull the trigger. Do it. Because once they come in here, they're going to enjoy it. They're going to have fun. Get rid of that for you.
And that was our Ty Steele reporting for us this morning. You can help by volunteering on Monday to assemble meal kits for kids and families facing hunger. Local 4 personalities will be there. You must sign up in advance. You can scan the QR code that's on your screen to do so. We'll be at Gleaners Taylor location. And if you can't make it that day, you can also donate online using that same QR code. Getting a live look over at Belleville this morning. If you're thinking about something to do this weekend, well, the city has just the thing. Next, we're talking the Belleville Lake Fest. That's coming up. Well, have you voted for your favorites in our annual Vote for the Best? You can weigh in on more than 80 categories right now over on clickondetroit.com, just like this one, Best Fries. Well, the finalists include the Chatita's Rolling Kitchen, Deer Camp Traveling Cafe, Funk It Up Fries, Guapo's Tacos on the Go, I love that name, Fat Rob's Food Love, Pops East on the Streets, Torres Mexican Grill, Vegged Out, and Zav's Jammin' Caribbean Fusion. Voting is open through July 21st, and as you can see, there is so much variety there to choose from. So we want to hear from you. We want to get those Vote for Your Best stickers out all over the place for the winners. And taking a live look at Belleville this morning, where the city is getting ready to celebrate its Lake Fest, there will be live music, activities, an outdoor movie, and a fishing tournament. You even have the chance to take the stage for karaoke. It's all in celebration of the 100th anniversary of Belleville Lake and to show people all that Belleville has to offer.
Belleville in general is just such a great community. It's off the beaten path, seems to be such a small town that so many people don't know about, but it really is a hidden gem. And so for us to be able to display what we have here, we're really proud to show it off to the community.
And tonight starts with a pub crawl at 6 on 4th Street Square. There's also where you'll find the free live music stage. Tomorrow starts with yoga in Horizon Park at 9 a.m. And you can get all of that info and more over at BellevilleAreaChamber.org. Moving up north now, where we are getting a live look at Traverse City. Cloudy there as well. The city will celebrate its 99th annual Cherry Festival tomorrow. More than 500,000 people will pack Traverse City for 8 days of live music, games, rides, and of course, cherries. People from all over come to the Cherry Festival to enjoy food and wine, all while taking in the beaches and waterfront views up north. The festival begins tomorrow with the pickleball tournament, then the very cherry flying pancake breakfast, which sounds delicious. We have much more news, weather, and conversations ahead in our next hour. We're taking a look at Local 4's big story of the week. Hear an extended chat with one of the security guards who stopped a mass shooting at a Wayne County church over the weekend. Plus, it was a honeymoon they'll never forget. You'll meet the local newlyweds who were blessed by the new Pope. And what do the Tigers need at the trade deadline, and how are they looking halfway through the season? We're talking all about it with our resident Tigers expert. We'll see you in a second, Derek. More news and weather in our next hour. Stay with us.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
And welcome everybody to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann in for Nick Monticelli. You can watch us streaming on Local 4 Plus and on YouTube. We have a lot going on today, so we want to get you caught up. Have you stepped outside yet? You'll have noticed that it's muggy out there. There's another chance for severe storms tonight. Ashley has the times that you should be prepared for all of that weather to roll in. Plus, as you look live at the Vatican, where two local newlyweds had the honeymoon of a lifetime. We'll talk to them about being blessed by the new Pope, and it's officially the halfway point of the Tigers season, and boy, did they start strong. We're talking about the standings and what the team needs ahead of the trade deadline. But first, we do want to start with the weather. I mean, the first thing you notice when you walk out, for me anyway, it was the clouds. I was like, what a difference when you don't see the sunshine at all.
I know, but I will say we're finally starting to see those clouds retreat.
Oh, good.
Yes. And so we will get some sunshine working its way in. And once we do get that sun, those clouds break, it's probably going to be like an exponential warm up with those temperatures because we're in the wake of that warm front. You also might have noticed when Priya was talking about the Tigers, we were showing Comerica Park, tarps on the field.
Yeah.
And it might stay on the field today, the way that these storms, end up timing out, that it could impact tonight's game. And I get it's a Friday night.
I know. You wanted
like City Connect night. People love that.
Right.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and look where we do still have the cloud cover, but it's just not as gloomy. You can see the tops of the buildings, and so visibility has been improving, although it's still a gray start. Temperatures are in the 70s, widespread 70s across the area with that southerly flow of air, which will pump in warmth coming out of the south, and that humidity is sticking around. But check out our visibility map. Now, still reporting 2 miles over at City Airport Mount Clemens, but 10 is where you want to be, and we're already there over at Metro Airport. So visibility has certainly improved. Now, satellite and radar, the bulk of that rain you see to our north, that's with the low pressure system, and we have the warm front attached to it. That's already pushed through. So what's next? Well, there's a cold front on the other end of that will be sweeping across Lake Michigan for today and working its way here into southeastern Michigan. Now, right now, you're not seeing many storms, shall I call it, over Lake Michigan with that front. And that's because we're not in the peak heat of the day. What happens with the cold front, it clashes with the heat. So as we rise close to 90 with the humidity and that front approaches us during the heat of the afternoon, that's when we start to see things fire off. So still leaning towards close to 90 for that afternoon high. There'll probably be more upper 80s along and north of M59, and the heat indices will be warmer for today. But we do have that slight level 2 chance of severe weather with damaging winds being the primary threat and some heavy rain. That'll be about 4 o'clock onward for today. So as you look at that planner, just note that you need the umbrella and you want to have that Forewarn weather app in your hand, because I've been saying all morning long, you get the push alerts that lightning's been detected in your area, rain's approaching your area, and whether you're at a Tigers game, Rocket Classic, going for a run, you get that alert and you can get into cover pretty quickly.
Absolutely. You need that information. See, I have the app, but I also have you. So that's where the random hey, Ash, what's going on? We do. But the app is a great idea to have if you don't have Ashley's contact info.
Hey, I'm sending all that stuff to you in the app, so it's like you have me too.
Exactly. Right there in the palm of your hands. All right. Thank you, Ashley. And we do want to get to the big stories that we're watching right now. If you're heading to work or downtown to hang out for the day, the Lodge Freeway, it's closed at Howard Street in Detroit because of flooding. A leaking fire hydrant in front of Huntington Place may be the cause. We don't know when this will be cleaned up. And heading live to Washington, D.C. on a big day for the Supreme Court, the High Court is expected to issue a flurry of rulings this morning, and some could come within the hour. Justices have 6 cases left to decide in the current term, including President Trump's attempt to end automatic birthright citizenship. Other cases include issues like voting rights, religious rights, and health care. The Supreme Court's 9-month term ends today, and we'll be keeping an eye on all of that. And a live look here at home at Lake St. Clair. Quiet now, but in a few hours, it will be full of partiers for Jobby Nooner. For the 51st year, boaters will head to Gull Lake, right near the border with Canada. And this morning, Border Patrol sent out a warning reminding people from Canada to report their entry into the U.S. People can do that on an app called CBP Roam, or just call the nearest point of entry. Jobby Nooner is an annual tradition on the last Friday of June. It was started in 1974 by a group of auto workers who called themselves jobbies. Today, a judge will take a look at the evidence against a teen girl charged with killing 2 people outside an East Point Foot Locker. 19-year-old LaKyla Taylor is accused of shooting the victims in the parking lot back in May. According to the Macomb County prosecutor, it started when Taylor and her brother got into a fight with another group. Starting at 8:30 this morning, a judge will decide if there's enough evidence for Taylor to go to trial. And in some of your headlines, we've been following the preliminary hearing all week, and now the man charged with the murder of a Detroit doctor is going to trial. A judge ruled there's enough evidence against Desmond Burks in Dr. Devon Hoover's murder. The ruling coming after a 4-day preliminary hearing where the prosecution laid out its evidence against Burke, including detailed text messages and one of Hoover's watches.
Was it exactly jealousy or simply desire to have more, or anger because of a dispute with something that had occurred before? I'm not sure this court has to necessarily have all the answers to that. At this point, I'm not the trier of fact. All that needs to be established here is that there's probable cause, one, that a crime was committed. I think that has definitely been established.
Burks is also facing charges in an unrelated case where he allegedly killed a man during a road rage attack. He is due back next week. We have a safety alert this morning after a faulty air conditioner nearly killed an Ypsilanti resident. Firefighters found an unconscious person after carbon monoxide levels spiked to dangerous levels in an East Michigan Avenue apartment. Hazmat crews traced the problem to an AC unit. The resident will recover and no other apartments were affected. Ypsilanti Fire offers free safety inspections. That number's on your screen. You can call 734-482-9778. In Wayne County this morning, more fallout after residents protested outside a public meeting about Wayne disposal. Well, inside that meeting, people packed the room. Lots of folks made it known that they do not like the idea of the landfill taking in even more waste, especially nuclear waste. Shantae Passmore breaks down the decision being made on the license renewal application for Wayne disposal.
Good morning, Priya. This morning, many may be wondering whether if there was a decision made on what's next for Wayne disposal. And the short answer this morning, no, not yet. Our team is reporting that a decision won't come down until the end of this summer at the very earliest. But here's a snapshot of what happened last night during the protest.
Test our waters!
As we get closer to a decision being made on whether Wayne disposal will be allowed to expand and take in nuclear waste from the Manhattan Project in Buffalo, New York, residents close to the dump site are making it known they don't want it. Lots of people turned out for this latest public meeting hosted by Eagle and the EPA. The most common question, is the site safe? And will it be if and when nuclear waste from the Manhattan Project is disposed there? Hear from a resident and what Eagle had to say.
Eagle just keeps on rubber stamping their permits one after another, and next thing you know, we're sitting next to the largest nuclear waste dump east of the Mississippi.
So it doesn't actually have to do with, did it come from the Manhattan Project? Did it come from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers? Is the waste meeting the acceptance criteria of the facility? That's what we evaluated based on.
Again, no decision has been made as far as what's next for Wayne disposal. Sending it back to you.
All right, thank you, Shantae. Meanwhile, we're learning new details about a disturbing child abuse case over on the west side where legal guardians of a 9-year-old boy are charged with his murder. Prosecutors say the boy's 2 guardians hid him to cover up horrific abuse. According to court documents, he suffered broken bones and was severely underweight. The medical examiner found he died of untreated pneumonia. Prosecutors say Child Protective Services got multiple complaints about the couple over the years.
There were 2 CPS investigations regarding physical injuries that were observed by others that were merely closed without even looking into them.
And both suspects are behind bars and are due back in court on July 3rd. Still ahead, we are taking a look back at one of the top stories of the week, a local hero who stopped the mass shooting at a Wayne church. This is a riveting interview, and you'll hear just some of the best highlights coming up in just a moment. And Fridays on Local 4 Live, we like to take a look back On Fridays on Local 4 Live, we like to take a look at the big stories of the week. This week, it was a shooting at the Crosspoint Community Church in Wayne. On Sunday morning, a gunman walked up to the church and started firing. Police say a deacon who was running late for church saw the shooter in the parking lot, then hit the shooter with his car. Then nearby security officers opened fire, killing that man. One security guard was shot in the leg. The other security guard's name is Jay Trombley, and he spoke to our Lauren Kostick about the entire ordeal.
What's been going through your head these last few days?
Just trying to process the events that happened here Sunday. Piecing together information that is still coming in as I talk to other safety team members, other people from the church, to put together how the events unfolded and who was where and how God put us in that precise place at the right time to help us.
Because this could have been such a tragedy. We talked about that. Talk about that timing. I mean, the day started, it was normal, you're having service. Take me, if you don't mind, just the beginning. I don't want to get too much into the details, but just talk about that timing of where you were and how everything kind of just unfolded.
So this past week we had VBS with over 80 kids, I believe, that learned about God. And on every Sunday after VBS, the sanctuary stays decorated in the theme of whatever the VBS was this year. And the kids get to perform the songs they learned, and the congregation, and we end up, it's a special day. It's with people who aren't normally here. Their kids came to the VBS, so they're there with their kids. So there was people here that weren't normally in our building. And the kids got through all their program and were just leaving the stage to go sit with their parents, to participate in the service of Pastor Kelly. And that's when things started happening. I heard a noise that, initial thought, I thought it was a mechanical issue in the building. That was a very quick thought, because as I was thinking that, I saw movement, turned around the cry room with his all open glass windows behind me. I see people panicking and running. I asked what was that noise. I thought maybe it was something in that room that I was standing in front of. And the young lady said, AR-15. That's all she said. And I said, where? She pointed, and I went that direction. And from there, I went out and tried to evaluate the situation, where things were, what was happening. I could see the commotion out the front doors. You know, there shouldn't be a pickup truck on the front lawn. Why is there a guy laying here? Why is the truck smoking? And I went out the door, evaluated the situation, realized what was happening, recognized the man who the pickup belonged to out in the front lawn. So I knew it was his truck. That brings pieces together. Focus on the man on the ground and realize that there's bad intentions that's going on. Retreated a bit because it looked like he was starting to focus my way or something like that. There was gunfire away from me. I learned now that he was engaging another safety team member to the west of where we were in front of the building. And that member was engaging with him. And as I retreated into the lobby, another safety team member who was in the service with his family and his grandkids came out into the lobby, running to the sound of gunfire. And he and I kind of crossed paths. I've seen the video. He was evaluating the situation. I could see in his mind he was trying to figure out what was going on. The man outside turned and fired through the front glass into our lobby. God's hands protected me from what I've seen, the evidence through the tablecloths and the tables and the window and the marks on the walls and down the hallways. I don't know how I didn't get hit. Ron was injured in the leg. Evidently, as the man came up, went down, checked to see where he was, and then focused back on the bad guy. And he couldn't move, his leg was broken, but he was focused on the bad guy. And then I came back around. As I'm watching, I could see the man go down, but still had his weapons, and I engaged him. And then went outside. I was comfortable enough to go out and remove his long rifle and then evaluate some more that he had more weapons, and I was able to clear them from him. Our team member from the west side that had been engaging him came down with me. We covered the man. He was still moving around. We covered him. A third member came out, and instantly, it seemed like instantly, law enforcement was standing in front of us.
In that video, everyone was running away, but you guys ran towards that gunfire. A lot of times we don't know what we would do in that situation. What made you say, okay, I'm going?
So I've said this previously, and that's a question. It's a question. As God has had us preparing 10 years for this, and training and working with other godly men to give us the skills to protect our family, that question runs through your mind. And that was one of the things that I remember thinking, is that I've always wondered, when I hear that sound, will I run to it or will I run from it? Even though I have this training, will I? And I don't, I asked and I was out the door. I answered my question Sunday. God put me right there.
Oh, I could listen to him all day. The other security officer who was shot in the leg underwent surgery and will need months of rehab. This morning begins hot and humid weather. You might notice some fog as you head out today as well. We're taking a live look over at Ann Arbor right now. It looks a little hazy there as well. Ashley is tracking chances for severe storms across southeast Michigan. All right, Ashley's joining us in studio right now. And, you know, it has been such a busy week in the weather department. I mean, just talking about that dome that was sitting on top of us. We've got some fog now, but is the dome moving on out?
Busy. What are you talking
about? I know. So it's been a walk in the park for her.
No, I think we're all ready for a little relief when it comes to the humidity. I mean, it's summer. Don't get me wrong. It's supposed to be hot out there. But, yeah, it's just been kind of a stifling week. And today's still along those lines. Tomorrow, though, I'm telling you, Saturday's the pick day of the weekend.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So get some sunshine. It's not 90s.
Right. I mean, mid-80s, where we should be for this time of the year. Honestly, we're kind of right at the point where we're at our like average highest temperature. So partly cloudy, 84 for the afternoon high on Saturday, and then we will be above average Sunday, back to around 90. And those heat indices will be a little bit warmer as we're also pairing that with some sunshine. So that's kind of a recap of not just the weekend, but also the Rocket Classic that'll continue with those two final rounds on your Saturday and Sunday, which will shape up to be drier. I'm really trying to look at the glass half full today and hopeful that the golfers get all of that in before the rain arrives later on this afternoon and evening. Melting meter. Oh, well, if you're getting those kids some ice cream, make sure they eat it quickly because it could be melting pretty quickly with the temperatures we have on tap. And so forecasted highs really right around 90, if not upper 80s for today, and feeling like we're into the 90s with that humidity. So the humidity is pretty oppressive. We don't have heat alerts to bring you though today. We're just right on the cusp of that, but temperatures are rising. We're shy of 80 by 2 degrees over at Metro Airport, but widespread 70s, only a degree shy of 80 down in Monroe. Warm front has already pushed through, so we're now in the aftermath of that, dealing with the warmer air building in. We're in that wedge between the warm front and the cold front, and so that cold front will be clashing in the heat of the day, but it's been so slow moving to get over Lake Michigan. So that will lead to the storm potential for today, especially once we get to about 4 o'clock onward. We'll be at really the peak heat, and then you get that cold air and boom, you're going to get a line of storms that will be firing off, which means straight line winds will really be the primary threat as we head in the later part of your afternoon and evening. The overall window about 4 to 9. These are moving west to east, and they'll likely be at a more of a 35 mile per hour pace for today. So it's not a snail's pace. It's also not one of the quickest moving storms, but you're going to see that push through the region. So if you do have late afternoon, evening plans outside, you might want to start considering plan B. We're talking those, evening graduation parties or going to the Tigers game, whatever it might be, but definitely be checking the forecast over at Comerica Park, or at least whether or not they have created a rain delay or a postponement. That's something you want to take into account with any plans you have this evening, if it includes baseball in the D. All right, hour by hour. So I've stopped the clock now right around 5, and we have a couple more so discrete cells, a broken line across the metro area, and probably a little more defined up in the thumb at this point as that line is pushing through. I think it gets a little more robust just after that, so probably 6 or 7, but now we're looking at that 10, 11 o'clock time frame, and besides a stray lingering shower, most of that is pushed out. Then Saturday, shaping up to be dry. You do see that warm front lifting across the region, potentially bringing some rain to the northern tier of lower Michigan on Sunday, but we'll just get the heat and humidity out of that. So 84 comes Saturday, 90 comes Sunday. Let's talk about great swimming weather. And of course, we have our beautiful Great Lakes we're surrounded by. Checking in with those lake temperatures, well, just around 70 over in Lake St. Clair, southern edge of Lake Michigan, 75 in Lake Erie, right off of Monroe. So that's comfortable, refreshing kind of swimming weather, or just hit the pool. Call Jason Colthorpe. He'll let you come to his pool. We will be right around 90 on Monday with a chance for storms as we get another cold front, but that only dips our temperatures into seasonal territory, mid-80s, which will be a nice break.
I'm also keeping a close eye on the water temps.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be heading out west next week, and you want to just jump in the water, but then you never know, right?
You're saying
if
like
it's
the west side of the state.
The west side of the state, yeah.
Oh, I know. I mean, we go to Lake Michigan every year, and it seems like it's always such a slow progress over there for it to get warm enough to jump in. I mean, in northern tier of Lake Michigan, for folks that are going up towards, Traverse City, that area, I mean, 50s is not safe to be in the water. So you can dip your toe in there, but don't let the kids be swimming in there for a prolonged amount of time. Southern tier of Lake Michigan, so we're talking Saugatuck, South Haven.
Muskegon.
There we go. You know, Muskegon's my area. I love it.
Really?
Yeah,
I got to get some tips. I got to get a little restaurant
Pierre
out there.
Marquette, beautiful. There's a great restaurant right at Pierre Marquette.
See, this is why you got to keep Ashley around. You just got to keep her close. The deck.
Yeah, they have music and swings and all kinds of stuff. Don't you wrap us. We're talking about...
Exactly. No, we will listen to you, yes.
We like it, Brecken.
Thanks, Ash. Well, switching gears, the Diddy trial will soon be coming to an end. We'll have the latest on that case. We have a live look at New York right now, what we're expecting in court today after the prosecution delivered its closing arguments. Getting a live look at New York right now, where after weeks of testimony, the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial is moving into its final phase. Today, the defense is delivering their closing arguments, their last chance to persuade the jury. And this comes after a powerful day in court yesterday, where prosecutors portrayed Combs as the mastermind behind a criminal enterprise involving conspiracy, racketeering, and sex trafficking. And they allege he used power, violence, and fear to control victims. Combs faces multiple charges and could face life in prison if convicted. You are not alone if it feels like the workday just doesn't stop, even at home or on the weekends. According to Microsoft, more people are using Outlook and Teams between 8 p.m. and midnight, creating the infinite workday. Adding to the stress, Microsoft found an email or chat is sent to the average worker every 2 minutes. According to health experts, it's important to carve out time for self-care to avoid burnout, and some things to try to include setting screen limits for how long and when you're checking email. Also, a workout or a walk and sleep can go a long way. Lastly, don't forget to use your vacation hours. Use that PTO. Shoppers might see some big changes on where they get their groceries after Kroger announced the closure of dozens of stores. The chain announced it's set to close about 60 stores over the next 18 months. Kroger's interim chairman says the move is meant to improve efficiency. The company hasn't said which stores it plans to shutter, but said the closures will happen around the country. It also said employees at impacted stores will be offered jobs at other locations. Several people from Michigan received a blessing that they will never forget. I think that this will be bragging rights for a long time. Taking a live look at the Vatican, where Pope Leo blessed a Michigan couple. They'll be joining us live to talk about that special moment next.
From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Local 4 Live. I'm Priya Mann in for Nick Monticelli. We do want to take a live look at the Vatican, where two local newlyweds had the experience of a lifetime recently, like right there. We'll talk to them about meeting Pope Leo in just a moment. But first, in some of your headlines this half hour, the U.S. and China have agreed to the framework for a trade deal. Both countries confirmed the details of the framework this morning. China's Ministry of Commerce says the deal would allow rare earth exports and an easing of tech restrictions. China is also expected to review some of its export control rules. As part of the deal, the U.S. will cancel a range of existing restrictive measures imposed against Beijing. Meanwhile, Republicans are working to pass President Donald Trump's sweeping domestic policy legislation by his self-imposed deadline. GOP leaders say they hope the Senate can rework the bill and pass it this weekend. After that, it would still have to go back to the House, and Trump wants to sign it by Independence Day. The Senate parliamentarian, however, says several of the bill's provisions don't qualify, and many Democratic leaders say they don't want to cut Medicaid and food stamps to offset trillions of dollars in tax breaks. And getting a live look at the board right now, just opening up for the day just a few moments ago. Investors are heading into the week's final trading day hot off the tailwind of Thursday's strong close. The Dow climbed 404 points. The Nasdaq added 194 points, and the S&P 500 gaining 48 points. All right, imagine getting married and then having your marriage blessed by the Pope, like the first American Pope. You may have seen this viral photo of Detroit Lions tight end Sam Laporta and his wife receiving blessings from Pope Leo. Him and his new bride were recently married, and the two received the blessing on a trip to the Vatican. Laporta wrote, quote, "Thank you to a very busy man for blessing me and my bride, a special moment that we will never forget." Well, guess what? The Laportas aren't the only ones getting that special blessing. Catholic Central High School teacher Alana Buhura
Yes.
and her husband Donovan recently got married. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you got the Pope's blessing.
We did.
What was that like?
It was honestly amazing. We didn't know what to expect. It was something we did actually sign up for.
Okay.
But we didn't know how it was going to look. We thought it was just going to be a general blessing of like the whole group of newlyweds.
Yeah.
And then we realized, over the morning, the progress of the morning, he started going to every single person that was up near the groups of people. So
was your heart like racing?
Oh, my heart was racing.
Most definitely.
Right?
We
He
were
was
like,
like,
he's
"I'm
about to walk
good,
up
I'm
to
good."
us. We didn't know
Yeah.
until they started stacking chairs, and we're like, the Pope is coming to us.
Yeah,
What did you say?
Well, the first thing I told him, I said, we're Chaldeans from Detroit. We're Eastern Rite Catholics. And I said, we're under Patriarch Sacco. Do you know him? Who's also a cardinal who was actually in the conclave. He goes, yeah, I know him. And he said, so you guys are Tigers fans.
What?
That's the first thing he said. So he loves his baseball for sure.
Yeah, I know he's a White Sox fan.
Yeah, we're
Absolutely.
aware of that.
I would have been speechless. I'd been like, yes, I am.
I was shaking. I'm not gonna lie, because
Right?
we weren't ready for that. Because I actually have a sister that did go do the papal blessing with Pope Francis, but they barely got close to him. They kind of reached out their hand, hardly touched him.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I had low expectations. I'm thinking we're not gonna get so close, and then we ended up speaking with him, and so I was like, oh my gosh, we didn't plan anything. What do we say? Like, what do we ask him?
Right.
So it was beautiful, and then we ended up asking him for a blessing. We told him we had gotten married just the Saturday previous, and so we asked him for a newlywed blessing, and so he gave us a blessing.
Well, that is just so beautiful. Everything I read about Pope Leo, his entire backstory and where he wants to take the Catholic Church, and he's just such an inspiring man.
Yes.
He is. He's very, very, very calm, very well spoken, and it was cool to speak to your Pope in English.
Yeah, that was another thing.
It was amazing.
Yes, yes. And so close to Michigan, right? So if I'm not mistaken, he was in Michigan a couple times during his discernment process and becoming a deacon. So he's familiar with that. So we're like so excited to tell him we're from Michigan, tell him we're from America.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal experience. It started our honeymoon trip actually. So it was one of those things where it started a whole marriage, of course, in our honeymoon, and it's something that we'll never forget.
Did you want to say something?
Yeah, we're passing our blessings on to you now.
Yeah, thank you. Can I just hold your hand a little? Yes, I feel it. I feel it.
I don't have any authority, but
It's okay. I'll still take it.
God gives the graces.
And on a spiritual note, to be starting your honeymoon and then to receive a blessing from the Pope on a spiritual level, what is that like for you both?
Yeah, so Pope Leo, the Pope, is the vicar of Christ, and as Catholics, it's a very important thing to us because he's right there to Jesus, right next to Jesus, and Jesus gave the keys to Peter, and that passed through apostolic succession for all of us to still be guided by Jesus, right? Through his apostles and through the position of the vicar of Christ. So when I think of meeting the Pope, I think of meeting almost St. Peter, who's right next to Jesus.
Goosebumps.
It's amazing.
I can tell you're a teacher too.
Yeah.
The way you explain it. So, did your family believe you? Like when you talked about how close you got, the conversation?
Yeah, they were just like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. As soon as we got the pictures, a time difference too.
Sure.
So as soon as we got the pictures, we sent it to our family. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, wait, what? I'm like, we didn't just get there. We met the Pope and we talked to him. So
and then when her school found out about it, it was game over.
It's over. It's over.
And then I had students messaging, emailing me, and just be like, you met the Pope, Miss Behor? Oh my gosh, you met the Pope. So I'm a theology teacher. So we talk about this all the time in class, right? We talk about, and we actually, in my junior class, we last semester when the Pope was being chosen, it was during the school days, so we actually watched it live in our classrooms. So
did you have any inkling then when you first saw white smoke that fast forward?
Oh, not at all.
A few weeks.
I kept jokingly telling my students, guys, pray for me. Pray that I meet the Pope. I literally joking, and
now
maybe they really did pray for me. I
think they did.
When I go back in the fall, I have to tell them thank you.
Exactly. Well, you got to come in. You're going to have your own saintly spiritual vibe going.
Yes.
Like, guys,
I met the Pope.
Yeah,
we're buddies now.
Yeah, you are. I also love that question he asked you about the Tigers.
Oh yeah,
he's definitely a huge baseball fan, and it was just cool just for him to, out of all things, that was the first thing he said, so you're a Tigers fan. And I was like, absolutely. We love our baseball in Detroit, I
mean, this is the, just how monumental it is to have the first American Pope where you can have a conversation like that, Oh, well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You guys look amazing.
Thank you.
The photos are great. Hold my hand one more time.
Oh, yes.
I feel Pope Leo. I feel him.
The graces.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations
God bless you guys. Thank you.
All right, you heard them talking about the Tigers. Well, the Detroit Tigers own the best record in the MLB right now. Maybe Pope Leo's onto something. We're halfway through the season, and it has been a fun ride. Local 4's Tigers expert joins us after the break to talk about the standings and what the team needs to do at the trade deadline. We'll be right back. Happening right now, sentencing for the man accused of driving the wrong way and killing two Farmington Hills parents. Jen and Ryan Ambrosio were on their way home from a date night in January of last year when they were hit head-on by the driver on the Lodge Freeway. The parents of 6 children were killed. The driver, Angel Melendez Ortiz, was running from police in a reported stolen pickup truck when it happened. He's being sentenced right now. Let's take you into the courtroom.
I didn't want to touch the guitar. If a movie came to my head, it would break my heart because no one else could understand. And I feel incomplete without them here. So I can only imagine the loss their children must be feeling. As I watch their lives pivot through such debilitating sadness where they were meant to have joy, I start to count the years that they lost. The years Jen and Ryan should have been in love. The years these kids should have had their parents through every significant and insignificant moment. I consider the moments they already missed. Julian's first time on the toilet. Bustina lost her first tooth. Amelia got braces. Amelia got glasses with her braces. Benedict's kindergarten graduation. Marie Grace's first basket during a game. Raphael being shockingly good at soccer. And the moments that are still to come. Every prom, every graduation, every wedding, every grandchild. All these years that were owed to 6 beautiful and innocent children. And all the years owed to my strong and vibrant brother and sister-in-law. Years taken from 8 blameless victims and the community that continues to love and mourn them. These years add up to lifetimes stolen. Please forgive my frankness, but I must say that it would be an injustice and a grave mistake to sentence Mr. Melendez Ortiz to anything less than life in prison. He took a weapon, a car that he didn't even own and was legally forbidden from driving, and he ended the lives of my brother and sister-in-law and robbed their 6 children of the lives they should have had together as a family. I implore you to consider that the legal restrictions on Mr. Melendez-Ortiz have not stopped him from killing, and in my capacity as guardian to these children, I must insist that keeping him behind bars is the only way we can ensure people are safe from his destructive behaviors and prevent the world from losing people as special as Jen and Ryan. I believe we've lost more than enough as it is. And I know that you mentioned that, you know, we just want him to be executed, whatever. That's not what it is. It's just the justice that we're seeking for these children, the justice that we're seeking for the lost. Because in the end, it was his actions that led to all of this. And I'm sorry, but you are responsible. Thank you.
I appreciate your strength and your the things you're doing to care for the children and the strength of your family. And I want you to know how much the court is impressed by all of it. Okay.
Now I'll ask Tracy Jimenez to come to the podium.
Morning, Your Honor.
Good morning.
My name is Tracy Jimenez, TracyJimenez. I apologize for having my phone up here, but
it's no problem.
The attorney quoted my cousin just now, and I wanted to give her a chance to rebut his twisting of her words. So she said, I would not have wanted my words to be used in this way. My words to the judge are being twisted. My statement was to encourage our legal system to take any and all action to prevent a tragedy like this from happening again, from all angles and all root causes of violence, not to allow any person, any piece of this puzzle to avoid accountability and responsibility for the consequences of their actions. As for me, I'm Jen's first cousin. First cousin might not mean a lot to some people, but she was my big sister. I came to this country when I was 2 years old, and we started our lives here living with Jen's family. We've been inseparable all our lives. We did everything together, or at least I wanted to do everything Jen did. I looked up to her. I was maid of honor at her wedding to Ryan. There I spoke in front of over 400 people who came from around the world to celebrate their union. I never thought that a little over a decade later I would be helping to plan their funeral. I'm supposed to tell you the mental, physical, emotional, and psychological impact this crime has had on me, our family, and our community. In the 10 years that they've been married, Jen and Ryan built such a life together and a presence in the community that the amount of people at their funeral more than doubled the amount of people at their already large wedding. There were over 900 people at Jen and Ryan's funeral. I suspect it would have been more if the church had the capacity to hold more people. It was live streamed to friends and family around the world. Priests from all over the area attended the funeral to pay their respects. This crime had a global impact. Hundreds of people who have all been negatively impacted in some way by this crime have received a life sentence. A life without Jen and Ryan. A life of wondering what great things Jen and Ryan could have done. And the least that the criminal justice system and this court can do is sentence the defendant to life or the equivalent as well. Defense counsel initially requested the fact that when they were killed, Jen and Ryan were going home to their 6 babies should not be mentioned in the trial at all, since the jury might have the audacity to feel empathy. But now with no jury, I get to tell everyone here about the children. In the 18 months since Jen and Ryan were killed, we have celebrated 9 birthdays. We've celebrated countless milestones and holidays. The youngest child, the baby, turned 3 just a few days after his parents were killed. We had to ask a 2-year-old what kind of birthday party his mama was planning for him. It was a Mickey Mouse party. We had to plan a Mickey Mouse birthday party for a 3-year-old while at the same time planning his parents' funeral. Think about that for a second. We had to schedule a baby's 3rd birthday party around the funeral of both of his parents. His birthday will always be around the anniversary of his parents' death. He has been sentenced to life because of this tragic anniversary. A life of only knowing stories about his parents, only knowing them through photographs and videos. The oldest child was 9 when her parents were killed. She has been sentenced to a life of being the one with the most memories of their parents. She'll be in charge of remembering. She is fully aware of what she has lost. What a burden to place on a young child before her 10th birthday. Sometimes I wish that you, the defendant, and everybody working on this case could hear recordings of those nights after their parents' murder, so you can truly, truly understand the stakes. I wish you could hear the children sobbing. I wish you could hear them crying out for their mom at night. I wish you could hear the baby ask for his daddy every single morning until one day he didn't. I still don't know which is more heartbreaking. Our family has been torn apart. We argue, say hurtful things, act out of fear, and constantly live with our grief bubbling near the surface, threatening our relationships. Our relationships with these children will never be the same. We don't have the same relationship that we had when their mother was around to protect their relationship with both sides of the family. We have a large extended family that is very close, as you may have seen by all the letters you received, and it was so important for Jen that her kids be a part of that family. Instead, we are completely heartbroken and now have to navigate a world that none of us chose and that none of us would wish on our worst enemies. Jen's parents and her brother are broken. I can still hear their anguished screams when their son had to break the news to them that their beloved daughter and son-in-law had been killed. Jen's brother moved across the country. He dropped everything to help raise his nieces and nephews. We are all just trying to ensure that Jen and Ryan will not be forgotten, and it is a struggle every single day. Gone is the future of family vacations like we planned. Road tripping to see our large extended family in Chicago like Jen wanted to in April of 2024. Our family was so important to Jen. She kept in constant contact with cousins in Chicago, California, Ohio, the Philippines, and more. They missed our big family reunion last summer. For me personally, since Jen and Ryan were killed, I've been depressed, anxious, fearful, and withdrawn. I don't sleep well anymore. Not since the crash. Now there are days where I am afraid to drive my car. I can say with confidence that this is true for most of our family. We have teenagers in our family who have put off getting their driver's licenses. At a time in their lives that should be exciting, they are instead filled with fear. Fear that one person and one person only caused. I was in a car accident of my own recently, and I was nervous to tell my family, especially the children, despite how minor it was. Because now we hear car accident and we know that the absolute worst can happen. Your Honor, the defendant has proven time and time again that he should not be out of prison. He was arrested previously and didn't appear in court, and a bench warrant was issued. He has open cases for violent crimes in other courts. He very obviously has no regard for the law. He has no regard for consequences. He certainly has no regard for other people. Despite being drunk and high, he was still able to realize the police were chasing him and that he had to run. He knew the consequences of being caught in the moment. Bench warrant for his arrest. He did drugs and went out partying with some woman who may or may not have been there against her will. No car, he stole one. Suspended driver's license, he still drove the stolen car. A police car with lights and sirens on trying to pull him over, and a police helicopter flying overhead. Did he stop? No, he drove the wrong way down a freeway, turned off his headlights, and sped up to over 100 miles per hour. I think that is more than enough evidence to show that if he is ever released back into the world as a free man, even if restrictions are placed, like probation, he will disregard everything and is likely to cause harm again. We do not want this to happen to another family, and everyone knows for a fact that the worst can happen. We do not want this person out on the roads when Jen and Ryan's children are driving, and he could murder them like he did their parents. This was not just an accident. This was a series of decisions and reckless disregard for human life that led to the murders of 2 people. A 37-year prison sentence for this series of crimes means that eventually the defendant will be released. Will he be old? Yes, but he will get to live a life again. There are 74-year-olds out driving, and Jen and Ryan will never get to live their life again. We will be re-victimized. The children will for sure be re-victimized. We will live in constant fear if he is back out on the road. If he is released from prison, he would definitely get back out on the road as soon as he can. He has proven through his actions leading up to the trial that he does not think this was a serious crime. He chose to do drugs. He chose to steal a car. He chose to drive the way he did. Just because he didn't leave his home saying, I'm going to murder 2 people today, does not mean that he didn't commit murder, because he did. And he thinks the penalty for taking 2 lives and ruining hundreds of others should be less than 23 years. He clearly does not appreciate that actions have consequences. His attorney just argued again a few minutes ago that this was not his fault and is trying to place the blame on the police. He will continue to be enabled and will be back committing crimes the second he walks out of prison doors. He has not learned and will not learn his lesson. He was and always will be a danger to the community. I had a brief moment in my legal career as a defense attorney. I do believe in second chances, and I know that people can change. I know that people can be a product of their circumstances. But will 37 years in prison change the defendant? He will still get to speak to family and friends, the people in his life who helped him become a criminal and who enabled him. I can confidently say that he will likely reoffend. He will still be able to communicate with friends and family. He can visit with his mom on Mother's Day. When the children visit their mom for Mother's Day, they have to go to a cemetery and speak to her through several feet of cold, hard dirt. Admittedly, I am not familiar with Cobb's agreements, but I'm uncomfortable with any